Dad-perfect events. I was standing on the back porch of the Lone Star Lodge, getting some air after dinner, when I heard him around the corner talking on his phone. His voice was different, not the smooth, confident tone he used with our family. This was tight, almost desperate. "I need another 6 weeks," Nathan was saying. The old man's starting to ask questions, but I'm close, real close. The trust restructuring meeting is next month, and once I'm legally family. He paused, listening to whoever was on the other end. "No, you don't understand. This isn't some desperate widow with a few $100,000. We're talking about $18 million here. Construction empire, real estate portfolio, the whole package. I just need to keep playing the loving fiancé until after the wedding. My name is Vincent Carlisle. I'm 58 years old, and I've spent the last 35 years building a construction and real estate business here in East Texas. Started with a pickup truck and a toolbox after I got back from Vietnam, ended up with 47 employees and properties worth about $18 million. But right now, standing there listening to my granddaughter's fiancé talk about our family like we were his next business deal. None of that success mattered. What mattered was that Katie, my Katie, who still called me every Sunday just to talk about her week at the hospital, was about to marry a man who saw her as a path to our money. Katie is 29, works as a pediatric nurse at Dallas Children's Hospital, and she's got her grandmother's bright smile and her daddy's stubborn streak. She'd been dating Nathan Cross for 10 months, ever since a colleague introduced them at some hospital fundraiser. The whole family thought he was perfect for her. Charming, well-dressed, claimed to be an investment advisor specializing in cryptocurrency and real estate development. Always had interesting stories about his clients and their success. Said all the right things about family values and building a future together. Even asked my permission before proposing, which impressed my son Leonard and made Katie beam with happiness. But standing there on that porch, listening to him talk about playing the loving fiancé and timing trust meetings, I felt something cold settle in my stomach. The same feeling I used to get in Vietnam when something didn't smell right in the jungle. I stepped back quietly and went inside, smiled, shook hands with relatives, played the happy grandfather for the rest of the evening, but my mind was working. In the Army, we learn to trust your gut when something feels wrong. In construction, you learn that the prettiest facades sometimes hide the worst structural problems. And in 35 years of business, you learn that people who talk the most about their success often have the least to show for it. The thing was, Nathan talked a lot about his investment firm Cross Capital Strategies, about his clients in Dallas and Houston, about the cryptocurrency deals that were making his investors rich. But in 10 months of family dinners and barbecues, he'd never once shown us anything concrete. No business cards with real addresses, no client references, no documentation of these amazing deals he was always closing. I chalked it up to professional discretion. Wealthy people value privacy, and investment advisors have confidentiality agreements. But after what I'd heard on that porch, those explanations felt naive. The next morning, I called my grandson Ben. He's 32, my son Leonard's boy, works in cybersecurity for a tech firm down in Austin. Always been the smart one in the family, got his grandmother's brains and his grandfather's suspicious nature. More importantly, he's got the kind of technical skills that could help me figure out what Nathan Cross was really about. "Ben, I need you to drive up here today. Don't mention it to your dad or Katie. Just tell them you want to visit your old grandfather. What's going on, Grandpa Vince? Maybe nothing, maybe everything. Can you be here by noon?" We met at Billy's BBQ pit off Highway 259, a place where the brisket's been the same for 30 years and the owner doesn't care much for strangers eavesdropping on conversations. Ben brought his laptop in a backpack, and I brought everything I knew about Nathan Cross, which it turned out wasn't much. "Investment advisor," Ben said, typing quietly while we waited for our order. "Should be licensed with the SEC or State Securities Board if he's handling other people's money." He frowned at his screen. "Grandpa, there's no Nathan Cross registered as an investment advisor in Texas, or Oklahoma, or anywhere in the southwestern region. Keep digging. His company, Cross Capital Strategies. He's mentioned it at every family gathering. More typing, faster now. Company was supposedly incorporated in Delaware 2 years ago, but there's no business license filed in Texas. No office address that isn't a mail forwarding service in Dallas, no employees listed anywhere, no SEC filings, no client testimonials." I felt that cold Vietnam feeling again, stronger this time. "What about his background, education, previous work history?" Ben's fingers flew across the keyboard for several minutes. The waitress brought our plates brisket and beans that normally would have had my full attention, but I was focused entirely on my grandson's increasingly troubled expression. "This is really weird, Grandpa. It's like this guy didn't exist before 2 years ago." No college records I can find, no previous employment history, no credit reports older than 24 months. Even his social media accounts only go back about that far. That's not possible. It is if Nathan Cross isn't his real name. We sat there for a minute, barbecue getting cold, while that possibility settled between us. Then Ben said something that made my blood run cold. Grandpa, you remember that story from a couple years back? The guy out in Colorado who scammed 3 different families by romancing their daughters? Similar pattern, investment advisor, cryptocurrency expert, no verifiable background, always targeting families with serious money. I remembered. The story had been all over the news for weeks. Denver construction executive's daughter, rancher's family from Pueblo, even a retired banker in Colorado Springs. The guy had taken them for close to $500,000 total before disappearing. Families destroyed, relationships ruined, life savings gone. Find everything you can about that case, I told him. Photos, names, court records, news articles, everything, already on it. Ben was typing again, pulling up news sites and legal databases. Case was about 18 months ago. Guy used the name Marcus Kellerman, claimed to be from Phoenix originally. Victim said he was incredibly charming, professional, always had explanations for why his business records were confidential or tied up in complex deals. Over the next hour, while our lunch got cold and the restaurant filled up with the usual crowd of contractors and county workers, Ben built a picture that made my stomach turn. Marcus Kellerman had operated in Colorado for about 8 months, working his way into 3 different families through their daughters. Each time the pattern was identical: meet the girl, charm the family, gain trust, work toward access to family money, then disappear when things got complicated. Look at this, Ben said, turning his laptop so I could see court documents from the civil suit. The Denver family, the Hendersons, they sued him for $180,000 he convinced their daughter Sarah to transfer from her trust fund. Said he needed it for a cryptocurrency mining operation that was about to go public. The photo attached to the court filing made my chest tight. Same face, same confident smile, just with darker hair and different glasses. It was Nathan Cross, no question about it. There's more, Ben continued. New Mexico, about 6 months before Colorado. Different name, David Foster. Convinced a rancher's daughter to co-sign a business loan for some real estate development deal. When it defaulted, she was left holding $95,000 in debt. He disappeared by then. Same guy, same photo from the driver's license records. And Grandpa, there's something else. After Colorado, there was a woman in Arizona who filed a police report but didn't press charges. Claimed a man matching this description had been dating her for 3 months, calling himself Michael Santos. Investment advisor, cryptocurrency expert, the whole routine. She got suspicious and confronted him before he could take any money, but she said he vanished overnight. I pushed my plate away. Appetite gone. So Nathan Cross is actually Marcus Kellerman, who was also David Foster and Michael Santos. Professional romance scammer working his way across the Southwest, targeting wealthy families through their daughters. That's what it looks like. And Katie fits the pattern perfectly. Young, trusting, from a family with serious assets, works in a caring profession that makes her want to see the best in people. The worst part was how well it explained everything I'd noticed but dismissed. Nathan's vague answers about his business, his reluctance to introduce Katie to any of his supposed clients or colleagues, the way he always steered conversations away from his past, even his timing showing up in Katie's life right after our local newspaper had run that feature story about successful family businesses in East Texas, complete with estimates of company values. We need more, I told Ben. This is enough to convince me. But Katie's in love with this man. She's not going to believe it without solid proof. What kind of proof? The kind that would hold up in court, because if we're right about this, we're not just protecting Katie, we're stopping a predator who's going to keep doing this to other families. That afternoon, Ben and I drove back to my office at Carlisle Construction. The building sits on 12 acres outside town with our equipment yard, warehouse, and the 2-story office building where I've run the business for the last 20 years. I'd chosen this location deliberately, far enough from town to avoid nosy neighbors, close enough to the interstate to make meetings convenient. More importantly, the building was wired with a security system that included audio recording capabilities. In the construction business, you learn to document everything. Too many contractors try to change the terms of a deal after they've started work, and recorded conversations have saved me hundreds of thousands in disputed claims over the years. Here's what we're going to do. I told Ben as we settled into my office. We're going to set a trap. Ben's plan was elegant in its simplicity. He would create a completely fake identity, Richard Matthews, recently widowed construction company owner from Houston, worth about $25 million according to his carefully crafted online presence. Ben spent the next 2 days building Richard's digital footprint, LinkedIn profile, business website, social media accounts going back several years, even fake news articles about successful projects. Then Richard Matthews reached out to Nathan Cross about investment opportunities. Nathan took the bait faster than a hungry catfish. Within 24 hours of Ben's initial contact, Nathan was calling Richard's burner phone number, eager to discuss exclusive opportunities for high-net-worth individuals looking to diversify into cryptocurrency and alternative real estate investments. Ben recorded every call in Texas. Recording conversations is legal as long as one party consents, and since Ben was playing Richard, we were covered legally. What we captured over the next week was damning. Nathan laid out detailed schemes for moving money through offshore accounts, avoiding tax reporting requirements, and setting up family investment trusts that would give him signatory authority over other people's assets. He bragged about his track record with wealthy Texas families who needed better financial guidance and hinted at previous successes in other states. But we needed him to slip up about his real identity, and Nathan was too practiced for that. He stuck to his Nathan Cross persona, never mentioning Colorado or New Mexico, or any of the names Ben had uncovered. That's when I suggested something that made Ben nervous but felt necessary. "I'm going to confront him directly," I said. "Wearing a wire, with you monitoring from the parking lot. Get him to admit who he really is and what his plan is for Katie." "Grandpa, that's dangerous," Ben said. "If this guy has done this to multiple families across 4 states, there's no telling how he'll react when he's cornered. I'm not some helpless old man, Ben. I spent 2 years in the Army dealing with people who wanted to kill me, and 35 years in construction dealing with contractors who'd steal the copper out of your plumbing if you let them. I can handle one con artist." The plan was straightforward. I'd invite Nathan for a private conversation about family financial planning at my office after hours. Ben would be in the parking lot, monitoring the wire and ready to call 911 if things went wrong. My lawyer, Patricia Wells, would be standing by with all our evidence, ready to contact the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit the moment we had Nathan's confession on tape. I called Nathan that evening. "Son, I'd like to have a man-to-man conversation with you about Katie's future. Can you meet me at my office tomorrow around 6 p.m. after the crew goes home so we can talk privately?" "Of course, Mr. Carlisle, I'd be honored to discuss our plans for Katie, our plans," like he was already part of the family. The next day crawled by like a wounded snake. I tried to focus on regular business, payroll, equipment maintenance, reviewing bids for a new shopping center project in Marshall, but my mind kept drifting to the evening ahead. Ben spent the day fine-tuning the recording equipment and going over our contingency plans. Remember, the goal is to get him to admit his real identity and his intention to defraud the family. Ben reminded me as he attached the tiny microphone to my shirt. "Don't push too hard too fast. Let him think he can talk his way out of it. I've been negotiating with lying contractors for 3 decades. I know how to handle this." Nathan showed up right on time, confident as ever. My office is on the 2nd floor of our main building, with windows overlooking the equipment yard where we keep our bulldozers, excavators, and crane trucks. I'd chosen this location for the meeting deliberately. If he tried anything physical, the fall would hurt but probably not kill. "Mr. Carlisle," he said, settling into the leather chair across from my desk. "Katie mentioned you wanted to discuss some family financial matters. I have to say I'm excited about the possibility of contributing to your family's continued success." Contributing, right? That's exactly what I want to talk about, Nathan, or should I say Marcus. I watched his face carefully. For just a split second, something flickered across his expression, not shock or confusion, but calculation. Like a poker player who'd just been called on a bluff and was deciding whether to fold or raise. "I'm sorry, sir. I don't understand." I opened the manila folder on my desk and slid 3 photographs across: Nathan from Katie's Facebook page, Marcus from the Colorado court records, David from a New Mexico newspaper article about the fraud case. All the same face, just with different hair and clothing. "The FBI Financial Crimes Unit is very interested in your career, Marcus. 4 states, at least 6 families that we know of, over $500,000 stolen. That's federal wire fraud, conspiracy, identity theft. We're looking at 15 to 20 years in federal prison." He didn't deny it. Instead, he leaned back in his chair and gave me a smile I'd never seen before, not the warm, charming expression he used with Katie and our family, but something cold and calculating. "Prove it already have." I pulled out my phone and played 30 seconds of his conversation with Ben's fake Richard Matthews identity. His voice clear as day, describing how to manipulate family investment accounts and avoid tax reporting. That's when his composure finally started to crack. "Look, old man," he said, his voice losing that practiced warmth. "You don't understand the situation here. Katie loves me. Your whole family has accepted me. If you try to destroy that, you'll be the villain, not me. She'll hate you for it. Your son will think you've lost your mind. You'll tear this family apart over nothing but suspicions. Maybe. But Katie will be alive and she'll have her money. I can live with being hated if it means keeping her safe from a predator like you." He stood up fast enough to knock his chair backward. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." "Sure I do. You're a coward who preys on young women because you're too weak and lazy to make it on your own. You pick families like mine because you think we're easy targets, just simple country folk who'll believe whatever sob story you feed us." That hit home. His face flushed red, and for the first time since I'd known him, Nathan Cross dropped his mask completely. "You think you're so smart? I've been planning this for over a year. Katie's already talked to her dad about adding me to some of her investment accounts. She's mentioned getting me on the insurance policies. One signature from you on those trust documents Patricia Wells has been preparing, and I would have had access to everything. There it was. Full confession, recorded on a wire that would hold up in any court in the country. The problem with your plan, Marcus, is that you don't understand Texas families. We protect our own, and we don't forget when someone tries to hurt us." I pressed the silent alarm button under my desk. Ben would see the signal and call the FBI field office in Tyler. Within 2 hours, federal agents would be looking for Marcus Kellerman. Marcus realized he'd been trapped. The cold calculation was back in his eyes, but now it was mixed with something else: desperation. "This isn't over, old man. You have no idea what you've started." "Yes, it is, and I know exactly what I've started, the end of your career as a romance scammer." He headed for the door but paused with his hand on the knob. "Katie will never forgive you for this. Even when she learns the truth, she'll always wonder what might have been. You'll have saved her money and lost her heart. Maybe, but she'll be alive to make that choice." He left without another word, but not quietly. Slammed the door hard enough to rattle the windows and make my coffee cup jump on the desk. I sat there for a few minutes after he left, making sure my hands weren't shaking, then called Ben. "You get all that?" "Every word, Grandpa. FBI's already dispatched agents from Tyler. They should be at the lodge within the hour." The hardest part was still ahead, telling Katie. I drove to the Lone Star Lodge, knowing I was about to break my granddaughter's heart and hoping she'd understand why it had to be done. I found her on the back deck, same place where I'd overheard Marcus's phone call 3 weeks earlier. She was in her pajamas and robe, drinking coffee from one of those big ceramic mugs the lodge provides, watching the sunrise paint the East Texas hills gold and red. She looked peaceful, happy, completely unaware that her world was about to change. "Morning, Grandpa Vince. You're up early, wedding nerves keeping you awake too." The wedding was supposed to be in 2 days. The guest list was finalized. The flowers ordered. The minister ready. Katie had spent months planning every detail, and she was glowing with the kind of happiness that comes from believing you've found your person. "Couldn't sleep, sweetheart? Katie, we need to talk." Something in my voice must have warned her. She set down her coffee cup and turned to face me fully, and I could see her preparing herself for bad news. "What's wrong?" I sat down in the chair beside her and told her everything. The phone call I'd overheard, Ben's investigation, the photos from the Colorado court case, the recorded conversations with the fake Richard Matthews identity. I showed her the evidence, played the recordings, explained about the other families he'd targeted across 4 states. She listened without saying a word, and I watched her face change from confusion to shock to something that looked almost like relief. "You knew," she said finally. "Part of you suspected something was wrong, did you?" She was quiet for a long time, staring out at the hills. "Little things," she said eventually. "He never talked about his childhood, never had photos of family or friends from before he moved here. Always changed the subject when I asked about his past clients or where he'd worked before." I told myself it was because he was private about business matters, but she shrugged, and I could see her putting together pieces she'd been ignoring for months. There was this one time about a month ago when I surprised him at his apartment with dinner. He was on his laptop, and when I walked in, he slammed it shut so fast it was like he'd been looking at something he didn't want me to see. Said he was working on confidential client reports, but his reaction seemed excessive. "Why didn't you say anything? Because I loved him, or I loved who I thought he was." She picked up her coffee again, hands steady, and because admitting something felt wrong would have meant admitting I'd made a terrible mistake, it was easier to ignore the red flags. We sat there watching the sunrise for a while. Then Katie asked the question I'd been dreading: "How long have you known?" I started suspecting after I overheard that phone call. Ben and I spent 3 weeks investigating before we had enough evidence to be certain. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner, sweetheart. I needed to be sure before I spoke up. You were protecting me. I was trying to. I know how much you love him, and I hated being the one to destroy that, but I couldn't let him destroy you." Katie nodded slowly. "What happens now?" As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from Ben. "FBI arrested Marcus at gas station outside Dallas. Outstanding warrants in multiple states. Katie's safe." I showed her the message. She read it twice, then leaned back in her chair and closed her eyes. It's really over. It's really over. That afternoon, Katie called off the wedding. She handled the phone calls to vendors and relatives with a calm professionalism that reminded me why she'd become such a good nurse. She could function effectively even when her world was falling apart. She told everyone there had been a serious incompatibility discovered at the last minute, and she'd rather disappoint guests than make a mistake she'd regret for the rest of her life. Most of our family and friends were understanding, a few pressed for details, but Katie deflected those questions with a grace I was proud to witness. The legal proceedings took months. Marcus Kellerman, his real name, we learned, pled guilty to federal wire fraud charges across 4 states. The prosecutors had built a case involving not just our family, but the previous victims in Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona, plus 2 more families in Oklahoma that the FBI investigation had uncovered. He got 12 years in federal prison, and the court ordered restitution for all his victims. Katie never had to testify, but she came to the sentencing hearing. She wanted to see it finished properly. Feel better? I asked her afterward as we walked out of the federal courthouse in Tyler. Yeah, she said, I do. Not happy about what happened, but satisfied that justice was served. The trial revealed the full scope of Marcus's operation. He'd stolen over $800,000 from 8 different families over 4 years, always using the same pattern, romantic manipulation to gain access to family financial information, then elaborate schemes to transfer money into accounts he controlled. Our family had been his biggest target yet, but also his downfall. Most of his previous victims had been too embarrassed to pursue criminal charges aggressively. These days, Katie's doing well, better than well, actually. She's back to being the woman I helped raise after her parents died in that car accident 15 years ago, independent, confident, appropriately suspicious of people who seem too good to be true. She started dating again about 8 months after the arrest. A pediatric surgeon from her hospital named Leonard, who drives a 12-year-old Honda and insists on splitting restaurant checks. Much better choice. Ben got formal recognition from the FBI for his digital forensics work on the case. They've consulted with him on 5 other romance scam investigations since then, and he's thinking about changing careers to focus on financial crimes investigation. As for me, I learned something important about family protection. It's not about being suspicious of everyone who comes into your loved ones' lives. It's about paying attention when your instincts tell you something doesn't add up. It's about asking questions and verifying answers. It's about being willing to be the bad guy temporarily if that's what it takes to keep your family safe permanently. The family trust is intact and stronger than before. But more importantly, my granddaughter calls me every Sunday, not because she has to, but because she wants to. She knows I'll always have her back even when it's difficult, and that's worth more than any amount of money could ever be. Experience teaches you that the smoothest talkers often have the emptiest hands, and the people worth trusting are the ones who prove it through actions, not words. When your gut tells you something's wrong, listen to it. That instinct was earned through decades of watching how the world really works.